Good morning, good afternoon and evening for those on the other side of the Atlantic and beyond. And welcome to the Yale Center for British Arts online series, Artists in Conversation. I'm Stuart Comer. I'm the Lonti Ebers Chief Curator of Media and Performance at MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art here in New York. And I'm very delighted to welcome the artist Rachel Maclean to the program today. Rachel is in Glasgow. Before we begin, I have just a few housekeeping notes. Please note that the program will be recorded. Your camera and sound are muted and will remain so throughout the program. We will be using the Q&A feature located on your navigation bar to gather your questions for Rachel, and they will be answered at the end of the program. But please feel free to submit your questions at any time. If you would like closed captioning, a live transcript is available by clicking the icon on your navigation bar. Yale University acknowledges that Indigenous people and nations, including Mohegan, Mashantucket Pequot, Eastern Pequot, Shattuckuk, Golden Hill, Pagussit, Niantic, and the Quinnipiac and other Algonquian-speaking people have stewarded through generations the lands and waterways of what is now the state of Connecticut. We honor and respect the enduring relationship that exists between these people and nations and this land. Rachel Maclean was born in Edinburgh, Scotland, and works across a variety of media, including digital print, painting, video, and virtual reality, making complex and layered works that reference celebrity culture, fairy tales, and politics. Maclean has spent the last decade showcasing her groundbreaking work in galleries, film festivals, and museums, and on television. Until recently, Maclean took on the character roles in her elaborate films, wearing colorful costumes and makeup. Her work can be both captivating and disturbing, with unsettling narratives and themes. Rachel has shown her work widely, both in the UK and internationally, receiving critical acclaim both for her film and her visual art. She represented Scotland at the 2017 Venice Biennale with her film commission Spite Your Face, and she's the 2014 recipient of the prestigious Margaret Tate Award for her contribution to the Glasgow Film Festival. She was shortlisted for the Film London Jarman Award in 2013 and 2015, and she lives and works in Glasgow. So I'm so delighted to kick this conversation off, Rachel. And to some extent, this is going to be bringing me back to my many years living in the UK, and it's great to re-engage with a voice who's making really interesting and urgent work there at the moment. And maybe just to begin, I guess when we spoke a week or two ago, I just see so many historical threads coming through your work, and ranging from pop art to the pictures generation and into the very new frontier of artists working with AI and other emerging technologies. And I hope over the course of the conversation, we'll be able to get a sense of a couple of your films in some detail, and then to really look at the sort of macro picture of how you're, I think, emerging out of a post-war response to consumer culture in a way that I think is completely imbricated in those new technologies that come in faster and faster waves, and how you as an artist, you know, in the very specific context where you're living and working, are responding. And so maybe let's go to the next slide. And just to begin with one of your earlier films, The Lion and the Unicorn, which I think taps into many of these questions of both a sort of consumer-driven popular culture, but also the nation and questions of class and politics that I think undergird much of your work. And maybe you can just describe how you first sort of jumped into the film, both in terms of its subject matter, but also your particular approach to the visuals, to the imagery, and how they were constructed.
Yeah, sure. So The Lion and the Unicorn is, like, in a lot of ways quite typical of my work in that I play all the characters, but do so in like elaborate costume and makeup. The film was made in 2011 in the run-up to the Scottish referendum on independence. So basically a referendum where Scotland decided whether or not to leave the UK. We said no in 2014, but this was in advance of that. And I made this film which was exploring these ideas. So there's three characters in the film: the lion representing England, the unicorn representing Scotland, and then the Queen character, which is based on the kind of heraldic symbol for the United Kingdom. And the film has me playing these characters and lip syncing to found dialogue. So it's got this weird mixture of like a sort of faux historical setting, these slightly joke shoppy kind of costumes, and then this dialogue which is taken from a mixture of places some of it was like current at the time. So you hear Jeremy Paxman, who's like a famous British journalist, and Alex Salmond, who is the then Scottish First Minister. And then there's also the Queen of the United Kingdom at the time, who has like Christmas messages that go through the years. So it's got me lip syncing to that dialogue and kind of playing out these different characters in a slightly absurdist setting.
And maybe one of the historical references I've been thinking about as I've been watching your films was the American pop, well, not really pop artist, the artist Elaine Sturdivant, or better known as Sturdivant. And the reason I mention her is that, you know, she was sort of recuperated in the 80s. And as artists like Louise Lawler and Sherry Levine and Cindy Sherman were coming to the fore, I think a lot of people began to mention Sturdivant as the first appropriationist. Particularly one who was looking at primarily work by male artists and appropriating it, you know, through the lens of a female or feminist artist. But what always I thought was a slight disconnect there was that Elaine was not cutting and pasting. She wasn't just, you know, photographing another photograph. It wasn't a sort of one-way appropriation. She was actually remaking this work with painstaking labor. It took a lot of time and effort. It wasn't just a sort of quick snapshot. Which is not in any way to undermine what Sherry and Louise and Cindy were doing with their incredibly important work in photography. But the degree to which your work is very labor intensive and invested in, at this stage in your career, certainly, you know, dealing with all the costumes, but also, you know, acting, the lines themselves, directing, just all the layers of making a film and centering yourself to some degree within all the roles that it takes to make the film. And then once we get to Duck, we can also talk about how that's taken on a completely new dimension with the new technologies you're working with, which are very labor intensive in another way that I think we can get onto in a moment. But maybe you can just talk a little bit about, you know, just the intensive labor involved in producing these and what it means to really inhabit this imagery, you know, as the actor, the director, the, you know, all the roles that you play. It's really interesting.
I mean, there's something like quite intensive about my work intentionally. So like it's often quite intense to watch, and it's intense to make too. And I don't know if it's necessary for it to be as intense as it is, but I've just come to like accept that fact. But yeah, I do a lot of the post for my work and the editing, and I don't know, I come from like a painting background, so I sort of came into making art thinking about it as like, you know, as a painter, the idea is, and the romantic idea is that it's just you alone with a canvas. So I kind of came into working in film in that way and gradually realized that that was crazy and started to collaborate much more. And really since like around about this film, I've had like quite a few long-term collaborators who followed me through lots of different projects. But I always like, because I think I started out like teaching myself how to edit and do all the different processes, I like knowing how to do something, even if it's not actually you that ends up being the person that does it. So, and yeah, I think in terms of the acting, I started out looking at a lot of performance art, and I tried that out, but I really quickly realized that I was less interested in depicting a kind of authentic sense of me and more interested in this kind of inauthentic ability to transform yourself into different characters, and also the possibilities of what you can do with editing as well to kind of heighten that illusion, which is really how this film functions. Like in a very simple way, it looks like I'm talking to myself just through sort of basic editing techniques.
Can we go to the next slide?
This is the film, actually.
Oh, sorry, this is the clip. Why don't we watch it for a second and then we can...
Rocked in the deep, Flora will keep watch by your weary head.
My own family often gather round to watch television, as they are at this moment. And that is how I imagine you now. It's inevitable that I should seem a rather remote figure to many of you, a successor to the kings and queens of history, someone whose face may be familiar in newspapers and films, but who never really touches your personal lives. But now, at least for a few minutes, I welcome you to the peace of my own home.
Let's look at the reserves that your country would have available to you. If you take gold first off, there's about 310 tons of gold that the Bank of England's looking after. What share of that do you want?
Well, normally the way on independence to do these things, there's a well-trod path, many countries have become independent, is you have the same percentage of assets and the same percentage of liabilities.
So you want about 8% of the 300 tons of gold?
That would be the normal way to, but incidentally, a country's resources, we've gone past the mercantile period. Countries' resources aren't backed by
How
gold.
do you get it north?
Many countries, incidentally, hold their reserves in common, through the Bank of International Settlements and other things.
Oh, so you might leave it at the Bank of England?
Well, we've got plenty of vaults in Scotland, but a country's reserves aren't...
What's there going to be, some sort of armoured train or something?
You see, I can't believe you said that.
Oh, maybe, can we just go back one more moment to maybe the previous slide? Sorry. There we go. So, again, in this case, you're drawing on a lot of kind of complex current events and their, the history that formed them. But again, I guess I'm curious about the sources specifically for the sort of the visual vernacular of this. I mean, it seems very like masterpiece theater on the one hand, but I'm curious how you do your historical research, including for the costumes in particular, because they're such, they are sculptural. They really are a crucial part of this. It's not just about an image,
Yeah,
but really how that image is performed.
they're meant to be for this film like a bit kitschy in the sense that they are like totally inauthentic, but they reference things that are like evocative, or at least like evocative in a British context. So the unicorn character here has a slightly like Jacobite kind of look to him, but it's mixed in with an almost like kitschy, cute unicorn, like glittered character. So I was slightly mashing up these two things. So the unicorn, by the way, is like the symbol, heraldic symbol for Scotland. And obviously the Queen is kind of part like Mary Queen of Scots with ginger hair, part what was then the current monarch of the UK, and also part kind of like British tourist hat, like covered in little Union Jacks. So I want there to feel a slightly almost uncomfortable play between in the visual aspect, but also in the audio, between this idea of history and then the present. So I think I'm interested in national identity and the extent to which it is built on fantasies or very kind of selective aspects of history that come together and fuse into a sort of fantasy. So I wanted to play on that in this slightly kind of tongue-in-cheek way.
But you have quite literally this discussion of the exact economics that have produced lineage of monarchs, but also the class system itself, of course. And I think the way, the sort of visual mashup of all of the symbols of class and the way they're kind of re-choreographed, while this particular dialogue is unfolding is really interesting.
Yeah, I kind of wanted it to feel like, I mean, that kind of political dialogue, I was thinking a lot at the time, because it was a referendum and it was a yes-no vote, it is this very kind of binary and quite polarizing thing where you lose some of the sort of gray area of discussion, and especially in sort of televised debate, often it's like very polarized. So I wanted to kind of bring these two characters together, and it's intentional in this work that like I haven't ever said which way I voted in the referendum, and it's not like a polemic on that. It's meant to be a space for kind of exploring some of the broader ideas about like our relationship historically to national identity.
Absolutely. Maybe let's go to the next slide. And then this film, I'm terribly sorry, like takes it maybe to another extreme, where, you've certainly left the castle far behind and you're really in the urban streets of London. But again, with, as you can see in this particular still, iPhones as this kind of portal. And this is actually work that was made to be engaged as VR as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So maybe you can talk a little bit about exactly that shift, because I think it's really important to frame Duck when we get to the point of talking about that more recent piece, just in terms of, thinking beyond cinema or the image itself to these more virtual encounters and these more spatialized encounters, and just how, again, just the unbelievable acceleration of commodities and goods that, the post-war culture has produced. Just in this like kind of broader, I think, reflection on, the UK's own roots in the beginnings of capitalism. There's a lot there to unpack. There are many, many layers, but then this really takes it several steps forward in terms of, I think, the sort of spatial dimension and how you're using VR to do that. So maybe you could talk a little bit about both the iconography of the film, but also how it's sort of arranged spatially.
Yeah, so I was like mega into trying out VR the minute I realized it was possible. And I think what I was excited about was the fact that, like, from the VRs I tried before I made this, it was very weird because it's not like a film at all, and that as watching a film, you're very passive. But in VR, even if the VR doesn't get you to do anything, you still feel kind of active. Like, you almost feel like you're a voyeur on the thing that you're seeing. Like, am I allowed to look at this? Or you feel like an active participant. So I thought that would be a kind of fun thing to play with. So in this VR, you arrive in this kind of like rain-soaked sort of London, but instead of buildings, there's like oversized tourist hats. So like Big Ben teapots and kind of waving queens and things. So you're very much in the kind of like slightly dystopian feeling kitsch British world. And you've got a phone and you can interact by like taking photographs of the environment, and before long various characters approach you in the street and start to elicit money from you. So quite like kind of upper middle class sort of Londoners that are trying to ask you for money and trying to ask you to take their photographs. So it's got this kind of like weird feeling of involving you in a way that you're being asked to participate in the work. And it's not absolutely clear, I think, when you're playing it or watching it, what you have control over and what you don't. So I was quite interested in that feeling of like you coming out feeling maybe a little bit complicit in what's happened in this work, or a little bit responsible in some way.
Do you think the viewer of this work is an implied outsider? Or, I mean, do you imagine somebody watching this is sort of privy to this culture, or they're looking more of it as a set of tourist tchotchkes for someone who's not actively participating?
I think it depends. I've shown this in a few different places. So I've shown it in the UK a few times. And I think in that context, like I made this, I think shortly after Brexit happened. So there was that whole context. And I think people in the UK were seeing it through that context. But I've also shown it in China. And I think in that context, it's very different. And it's much more a sort of touristic sense of the UK, or this idea of like the touristic sense of the UK in decline. So I always want my works to like function in different contexts and pick up different meanings in the process. So it's not like something really fixed.
Because even the title, I'm Terribly Sorry, of course, is, on the one hand, one of the great cliches that you apologize, constantly.
Yeah.
But then, in the aftermath of Brexit, that took on a very different dimension, perhaps. But I was really curious, actually, to talk about Brexit specifically, in connection to both of the films we've just discussed, The Lion and the Unicorn as well, which was pre-Brexit, but also in the midst of the referendum, as you mentioned. And just thinking again about, England's own role within a network of nationalities in the EU, or its connection to Scotland, etc. But, again, back to this question of who's the insider, who's the outsider, what does that mean post-Brexit? It probably means something very different. And, one of the first anecdotes I heard right after Brexit was from a friend of mine who was Brazilian, but had been living in the UK for almost 30 years. And, she was on the top of exactly one of the buses in this image, and then was asked when she was going to go home to start packing her bags by another passenger on the bus. So this was the kind of thing that was happening in this moment. And I guess that's why I'm asking, because to some extent, these are such alluring, fetish objects for whatever it is that creates Anglophilia and this deep desire, by, the millions and millions and millions of tourists that go to London annually. And yet at the same time, it was in a moment where that was being kind of brutally shut off. through Brexit. But I'm just wondering also, with the kind of historical trajectory that's, even sort of framed within that dialogue about economics.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I was definitely making this work aware of the fact that I think British people, by and large, don't know their own history, and at least we're not taught it. Like, there's a large extent to which we buy our own shit or buy our own mythology. So I wanted to kind of play on that with this. Yeah, remind me what your other question was, sorry.
Well, I guess, look, if you think about this as sort of, I guess this is certainly like maybe like the crashing end of Blair neoliberalism, right? And so what was this kind of incredible moment in the early 2000s through the Olympics, let's say in 2012, where London really became a major capital, on the global stage. And then Brexit obviously is still playing out in extremely complicated ways, both within and without the UK. But as you said, this is already like a very dystopian film. Even the central role of the iPhone plays within it. It's just like that is perhaps the device through which our political lives have fundamentally changed through disinformation. As much as they've connected us, they have also separated us, ironically. And so it is in a moment where we had reached the kind of pinnacle of globalization, and then Brexit was one of many indicators worldwide that was coming to a crashing halt. So I just think even this one still, it tells you a lot about that moment.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think there's that idea of also being an outsider on it. I think I'm aware often that people outside the UK, I think, have a more interesting perspective on the UK than we do on the inside. I always like to read like Irish writers on Britain. I think that they can have some of the most like clear-sighted perspective. But I think because by the point we got to Brexit, Scotland had already been through the referendum for independence, and there was already this sense of like, during that period, I think, questioning like, what is the relationship that we have to Britain? What's the relationship we have to the history of empire? And obviously all that was played out in Brexit as well. So absolutely.
I mean, I moved to London in 2000, and that was already quite a few years after Patrick Keeler had made the film London, which for me is one of the great cinematic essays about the political complexity of the capital. But then that was also the moment that you had artists like Mark Leckey or Nick Rolfe and Oliver Payne that were making these sort of psychogeographic exercises in a very dystopian view of London. But that, again, was a radically different moment than the one in which you made this film. And maybe we should just show the clip so that I think people have a better sense of exactly how these sort of new technologies are framing these kinds of images.
Excuse me. 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 I'm terribly sorry to bother you. My phone died and I'm lost. This is awfully embarrassing, but you wouldn't happen to have any spare change, would you? £2.35 to be precise. I'm sorry, I realise this is an imposition, but you see, it's my son's wedding tomorrow, and I need to buy a flat. Wait, no, not a flat. No, a flat white. I need to buy a flat white. Not for him, but for... Well, you see, what happened is my son met a Polish girl, lovely, and he's getting married tomorrow. Big do, lots of fun. But my phone ran out of battery, and I need to contact him, my son, lucky chap. And it's not that I need a flat white, but I have to plug my phone in, and Starbucks have a very reliable Wi-Fi connection. And... well, anyway, you couldn't spare some change, could you? Just £2.35. That's the price of a flat white, which is quite reasonable considering, and, you'll give me what I need, won't you, lovely girl? £2.35, that's all. Just whatever you can spare. £2.35 to be precise. That's the price of a flat, which is quite reasonable considering.
And how did you effectively cast this film? As
Well, I'm playing the phone heads, so
Yeah.
I do the faces, but I cast it with a few different voices. Stephen McNichol plays the Scottish man, and he's an actor I've worked with quite a lot. He's really good fun. He does a lot of like pantomime and like this kind of comedy actor. So, but yeah, I wanted it to feel like, I guess there's these quite almost like painfully middle class people approaching you in the street. So there's like a slightly heightened kind of parodic quality to it.
Absolutely. And I mean, maybe the obvious question too, which I think circulates throughout your work is, the gender equation or the gender binary even, and just how you are approaching. I mean, I can't help but think of an amazing artist like Linder, who was doing those kinds of incredible cut-ups in the 80s in Manchester, where she was taking, commodities and sort of juxtaposing them with body parts and creating these almost automatons. And I think the automaton is something I think a lot about in your work. In almost every film, it comes up as these, sort of cyborg figures that are part human, part machine. And that comes out really strongly and clearly in this film. But then the machine is, kind of both, it is you and it's also talking back to you. And it's also, even the POV of this is effectively stationary, but panning around. And it brings up the question, not only of VR, but of surveillance, of course. And London remains one of the most surveyed cities in the world. It has, I think, still the highest number of CCTV cameras of any city in the world. So what does that mean when that is transposed to, the pedestrian who themselves have the camera in their hand? It's not just, the sort of police network of cameras, but cameras have just proliferated to this shocking degree. And so even the sound of the camera shutter clicking, which is of course itself fake, and it's sort of an iPhone device to make you think that you're using an old analog camera, which it's not. So I feel like everything about the analog world crashing into the digital world has just felt like very strongly in this one.
Yeah, and I think I was thinking about a lot with VR. The thing I find interesting about it is the degree to which it is immersive. Like you're so embodied, you can feel physical things like vertigo. And I think filmically that's interesting in the sense that you can, in this work, I wanted you to feel like you're alone on a street and there's nobody else there, even though there might be literally people in the physical room. Like you can really evoke a feeling very effectively. And yeah, I guess in terms of femininity and feminism in my work, each of my works like look different in the sense that I'm always parodying something, and this is to a certain extent a parody of a kind of kitschy like touristic Britain. But I've got works that maybe like the next work we're going to go on to, Feed Me, which is much more in a sort of feminine style, so sort of pinks and blues and glitter and I do that intentionally. I don't know if we want to talk about this work in its own right or.
Yeah, and I mean, this is actually a perfect work to kind of talk about one of the larger questions too about the aesthetics of the work, which are so consciously, as you've used words from Baroque to almost sort of violently invested in a kind of a visual assault that goes against notions certainly of, quote unquote, good taste or I mean, you clearly want to jolt the viewer through this kind of imagery. And I guess even with the previous film, there's this kind of gothic horror vibe. And then in other works, you're drawing on the very, again, cutesy commodity culture of toys and things devised to sort of seduce children with a kind of saccharine. So it's constantly like toggling between, again, sort of horror and something far more saccharine and seductive. And those two are never totally far apart from each other in your work. And I'm wondering how you kind of arrived at distilling, I mean, this is as much, I don't know, this is as much Rococo as it is Cabbage Patch. And so I'm curious, how you landed on, and again, if you think back, I keep coming back to the pictures generation for whatever reason with your work. Of course, like Jeff Koons and many artists during that era were, if you compare somebody like Heinz Steinbach, who, like Jeff, they were both invested in this idea of the commodity fetish, but whereas Steinbach was still, I think, really like beholden to minimalism and those aesthetics. Jeff was really taking it into a much more quote unquote dangerous terrain, in terms of what the art world was willing to tolerate. And in this case, this is closer to the Koons end of the spectrum than the Steinbach for sure, but it has a different agenda completely than Koons, I think. But anyway, I'd be curious to know how you approach this question of, for lack of a better word, kitsch and a kind of aggressive sense of a kind of consumer aesthetic that has not always sat well with the art world.
Yeah, I quite like, I think one of my first weeks when I was at art college, I was taught by this guy who, like, I had loads of great teachers at art college, but this guy was maybe quite traditional. And I brought in like a pot of pink paint, just like pink emulsion paint. And he was like furious and like humiliated me in front of the class with the idea that I would paint in pink. And I kind of immediately got this idea of like, oh yeah, cool, right? There's something like, I can piss him off if I paint in pink. And I've since then always had this feeling like there's something about this aesthetic that, I don't know, a lot of people bristle at, or they find it like disgusting or repellent, or I think to a certain extent can't take it seriously, which to my mind is because it is feminine, and obviously femininity is associated with women and children, and it's a sense in which their experience isn't taken as seriously as a male experience. So I kind of want to work in this colour and this colour palette and this aesthetic, in part because I know it pisses people off a wee bit, and so I want to like present people with something that maybe is hard to immediately take seriously, but you're dealing with kind of serious ideas and topics within it. And I think what you were talking about with Baroque, I think about that quite a lot. I think coming from Scotland is like a very traditionally like iconoclastic culture. And maybe as a consequence of that, I think there can be a kind of relationship to images where there's almost like a suspicion of images, like images are trying to trick you into believing something that isn't true. And there's a sense of which, like, especially an overload of images or like an overload of color is like deeply suspicious. So I'm also to a certain extent playing on that, where I'm throwing loads and loads of images at you to the point that it becomes too much. And in this film, Feed Me, there's like quite a lot of moments like the characters say 110% a lot, or they say like too cute. So it's like, 100% is really about as good as like scientifically you can get, but 110% is almost like it tips it into its opposite. And the same with like too cute. There's cute, but then there's too cute, and just is too cute almost the tipping point for cuteness. So I always want to play like visually with that, and also kind of in editing and things that you feel like you're being dragged into this world that becomes a bit sickening and dark.
110% is almost the opposite of a phrase like "I'm terribly sorry," And if I'm terribly sorry is, let's just say, the more minimalist end of the spectrum. This total fear of, stepping beyond your boundaries, and somehow, everything has to be very subtle and quiet and understated, and then the opposite of that. So maybe we should watch the clip.
If I could escape this cell, I'd run and leave him far behind me. But in my heart I know there is no place where he'd not find me. Feeling your eyes on me, longing to shake that watchful gaze, wishing I could be free to do anything but feed you.
Keeping my eyes on you, feeling the fear of what might be, Whatever your intention, you won't get past me.
Feeling your eyes on me, knowing that I can't break this gaze, wishing I could get lost to do anything I choose to.
Watching your every move, watching you as you count the days, feeling a strange connection under protection. If you were to escape this cell, who knows what threat we'd then be facing. Better to prevent a rogue escape than to be chasing. Keeping my eyes on you,
Feeling your eyes on me,
knowing that I can't break this case.
wishing I could be free to do anything I please.
Watching your every move,
Watching my every move,
watching you as you count the days, feeling a strange connection under protection. Under protection, under protection, under protection, under protection, under protection, under
It's hard to believe it. That was made probably 5 years before Zoom became the common.
Oh yeah.
We're having this conversation right now on a similar kind of interface. It was still, the era of certainly the cam girl, and I think that's effectively what the female character here is. But how did you? Maybe you could just talk about her character a little bit.
So the character in this film is like an hour long, and it kind of jumps between loads of different genres. So this is like a recurrent kind of like musical theatre in a Disney style kind of genre, but it goes into almost like horror genre, like TV interview, like all sorts of different things. So the intention with this character is, like with a lot of my films, it's not a kind of typical film character where there is consistency or an arc. It's almost like inconsistent. So you get her cutting from one person to another. So you see her at times acting like a little girl, and you see her at other times acting like a woman. And I want to create a kind of like shifting, unsettling feeling that you can't quite pin her down.
And then the degree to which this is sort of dialogue with the man on this sort of toy, it looks like a sort of toy computer.
Yeah.
Hyper feminized
Uh,
to, the sort of pinkness you were talking about earlier. But then, of course, it's not just a one-way dialogue. She breaks that into a full musical production at one point. Actually, I meant to say too, it made me laugh because, there's this really important work from 1980 called Hole in Space that Kit Galloway and Sherry Rabinowitz did, that for the first time connected a crowd here in New York in Lincoln Center with a crowd in LA at a shopping mall. And they, like, these screens were in public space and they were literally talking to each other across the country for the first time. But there's a group of people who just tried a similar exercise this week that was connecting Times Square, New York to Dublin. And it started off with exactly this sort of thing, like musical dancing moves and all kinds of things. And then they had to shut it off because suddenly people were burying their breasts and their bums and everything else. They had to shut the whole thing down. But this made me think a little bit about that. But that, these kinds of conversations that can happen across enormous distances. And there's this kind of question of the intimacy of the home versus the public stage of the street, and how you're kind of dealing with both of those things in this work. But what is going on in this dialogue between the two?
I kind of wanted to play off like a mixture of surveillance culture and the gaze, so the kind of gaze of surveillance, but also the male gaze and this uncomfortable feeling like this character is almost kind of playing into it to a certain extent. And yeah, with the kind of pretend computers and like toy laptops, I'm quite interested in this idea of pretend. So there's like a section in the film where you see like people use guns, or they use their finger like a finger gun, and sometimes it works like a real gun and other times it doesn't, and there's kind of odd relationship between pretend and reality, and I've used that in quite a few of my works when they reference sort of video game violence and things.
And it's interesting because I mean, this question of the cyborg, which just keeps coming up, and it's been something artists like Lynn Hirschman-Leeson certainly have used, who I do see connections between your work and her work for sure. But then there is something more toy-like in a lot of your films, and I think maybe that certainly extends to the next project. So maybe we can move on to the next slide. So here we have Mimi. And in this case, this really does feel more like not only a character or this sort of palimpsest of historical characters and maybe more recent ones, but it also, I mean, she feels more directly like a doll, something that you could actually purchase. And in fact, that's exactly what you do, is you create a shop environment in which to house this character. But maybe you can talk about the genesis of Mimi.
Yeah, so Mimi is literally a doll. So I've reproduced like a kind of series of Mimi dolls, and they're based on, I had a toy when I was a little girl that was a doll where you could invert the skirt. So on one side it was Little Red Riding Hood, and on the other side you turn the skirt and it inverts, and it's Granny on the other side. So it's kind of a play on that, where this doll has the young Mimi on one side and the old Mimi on the other, and you see them in the film kind of warring with each other or contending with each other, and there's a play between that. And there's also a play with this idea of upside down, so the sense of like turning the world upside down, and it inverts, which happens in quite a few of my works, and I've played on it quite a lot recently in paintings and things too.
And I guess, again, I mentioned Lynn Hirschman-Leeson a moment ago, but you know, her sort of fictional character was Roberta Brightmore, and of course she made many bodies of work using that character as, again, a feminist lens through which to draw many different critiques. And I guess maybe the other obvious artist to mention in that regard would be Cindy Sherman, someone who, like you plays all of the roles effectively, and she becomes a surface onto which many of these cultural fantasies and histories are projected. And I guess, to what extent, are you distilled into Mimi and vice versa? Or, again, I think only because we have a Joan Jonas retrospective here at the moment, and Joan was using both the mask and the mirror in her earliest work. She literally sort of began the earliest chapter of video art by bringing these things together. And she felt that she could really only start to enact a feminist critique by putting on a mask. And so I feel like there are many layers. Again, it's really a palimpsest of masks in your work in almost every character. There's not just one. But I'm kind of curious how you see your relationship, particularly to the character of Mimi in this film.
And this film, I guess, is like more unusual for my work in that it's not literally me playing the part. Because
you're not enacting it, but I still wonder to what extent are you the character. So
yeah, although I did like motion track myself to play it, so there's an extent to which I am still acting the character. But yeah, I mean, I suppose in my work I feel like the characters I create they're not intended to be me. It's almost more like what you described with Cindy Sherman, where it's like a kind of mask or a surface that people can project onto. But often not necessarily so much with Mimi, but in the work where I use prosthetics and in the deep fake film, I want there to be like a slightly unsettling feeling that you can see me beneath the mask. So especially you can like see the seams of the prosthetics, or there's something a little bit imperfect about it. And there is a knowledge at once of you engaging with this character and the surface, but also knowing that there's something behind that, and the thing behind it doesn't necessarily relate to the surface. So I want there to be a discomfort with that.
Shall we pull back the curtain and show some of the production stills?
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's actually a clip from this if there's time, but maybe maybe we don't have time.
Why don't we at least go quickly to that?
Yeah.
Let's watch the clip and then we can just.
It's me, 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 me.
Is that me still cuter than me?
Maybe.
What must me do?
Me must chop that me in two. Ha!
Hey! Me could have hurt me.
Look at what me's done.
It wasn't me.
Well, who was it then?
No apologies here. No, I'm sorry. So maybe quickly we can just go to the next slide. I think it's the. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, this is me motion tracking. And some
I'm
stuff.
wondering a little bit too, just about, I mean, to some extent, there's a strand of surrealism in your work and a question of dream states or dreamlike images. And again, that seems particularly apropos here. So between, pulling back the curtain in both directions, one in terms of your subconscious and to what extent you are, playing with questions of the uncanny and kind of the classical Freudian tropes of film theory, and then to the other end, you're also, again, dealing with green screen technologies and different ways of kind of inhabiting an image, and how those things come together, I guess, is interesting to me. Just, again, this sort of subconscious state versus you sort of actively generating the character. I don't know. Anyway, maybe you can talk a little bit about the process.
I think, I was drawn especially to animation because I wanted to create this sense of weightlessness. So this feeling that the world could turn on its head and the character could turn its head, and there's a sense in which, obviously, even if you're on a green screen, you're still in the real world, gravity still exists. But when you're in an animated world, you can just shift it and suddenly the pigtails come upside down, but the skirt stays down. And I really wanted to kind of play with that space. And I think there's something quite dreamlike about that. And yeah, I mean, when I was growing up or a teenager, I loved all the surrealist artists and really absorbed a lot of that. So I imagine that there is all sorts of strands of that in my work that I'm not fully conscious of.
And then, I mean, there are sort of, Mimi seems sort of equal parts Alice in Wonderland and Pippi Longstocking and a lot of other familiar characters, and yet she's also none of them, and she's her own unique creation. But then maybe even just the name Mimi, how did you arrive at that?
So the idea is it's kind of like me. And I like in the film it kind of plays out almost like there's these two separate parts of her character. So there's me, the young me, and then there's me, the old me. And I was thinking of that, I guess, internet culture. There's a point in which you see her doing a kind of piece to camera, almost in a kind of YouTube confessional style. And this culture of obsession, self-obsession, and kind of narcissism, and the darkness that comes about as a consequence of that.
And maybe we could also quickly go to the next slide and just talk about how this was presented, which is also really interesting. Oop, maybe one more, sorry.
We don't need to watch all these, but this is me. So I played out the entire film and edited it with really bad pigtails on. And then the animators worked with that and worked with the motion tracked footage to put together the character.
And to what extent did this technique or methodology sort of prompt you to think about Duck? Because it's clearly related, just in terms of the, how these characters or images are created. But
Yeah.
You could just talk a little-
So Duck, should we move on to Duck actually? Is that a good time to?
Sure,
Yeah. You might need to skip through a few. Yeah, so this is just where Mimi was installed. It was installed first at Jupiter Artland in this kind of disused shop or pretends disused shop. And then it was again literally installed on the high street in Perth in Scotland, in a disused shop, which was kind of made to look faux disused. And the shop didn't sell Mimi dolls, but kind of stocked them. And these are paintings that I made that play with the character of Mimi and play with this upside down ideas. So it's the same, almost the same image, but when you turn it upside down, it takes on a new meaning and kind of plays with that hidden image idea. So yeah, with Duck, which is my newest film that I made using deepfake technology, it also kind of plays with this idea of upside downs and illusions. And in some ways is a continuation of my existing practice in that I play all the characters and do so with a mask, but instead of it being like a prosthetic makeup and wigs and all that mask, it's a digital mask, so a deepfake mask.
So it seems like an interesting segue from Mimi to Marilyn in this case.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess just to dive into Duck a little bit. So at what point, I mean, clearly this is the one which is really marked by your adventures with AI more than and again, that's I guess why I'm asking a little bit about the relationship to Mimi in terms of just motion capture and where machine learning enters into that and takes it to another level. And this is an incredibly ambitious film. And again, I think we should talk a little bit about the labor behind it in a minute. But maybe first you could just talk about, rather than sort of distilling all of these different avatars from whatever Alice in Wonderland and Pippi Longstocking into a single Mimi. In this case, certainly at least with the male character, it's dispersed across every James Bond imaginable. It's not limited, but rather distributed. And so it's actually a very different approach, and the technology allows that in kind of remarkable ways. But again, you have this gender gap, as it were, between the Marilyn character and the James Bond character. And maybe you could just talk a little bit about that, and then how this technology allowed you to sort of double down on, again, this kind of cultural unconscious in which gender determines things to a degree we don't always acknowledge.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I went for like a kind of more masculine thing with this film, and specifically like Sean Connery and the Bond characters, is just in researching deepfake. I think there's a lot of the kind of media fear about deepfake is this idea that we will no longer know if images are true anymore, which to me, I think as somebody who works constantly in like green screen and Photoshop and illusionary image making, I don't relate to images in that way in the first place. And I find the idea a bit naive. And as I was researching it, it's really like the threat of deepfake is less that and more like deepfake revenge porn and women's faces or their bodies being taken to make that. So I was interested in taking a man's face as the main character and taking the character of Sean Connery as Bond. He's like the ultimate sort of image of like a fantasy of like male stability and also kind of British stability and a certain kind of middle class British stability. And deepfake is this essentially destabilizing technology. So you start off with Sean in his kind of normal mode of being, so very comfortable with his state in the world. And then you see gradually that starts to unfold and he can't quite handle it. He's not used to it. But you see Marilyn, who to me, I think she was almost like the obvious person to deepfake in the sense that she's pure image to the extent that you can't even imagine that a real Marilyn ever existed. So I had the idea that Marilyn in the film is a deepfake and she knows she's a deepfake and she's comfortable with it. And the difference between Marilyn and Sean is Marilyn can handle it and exploit it and manipulate it, and Sean can't. And you see him kind of like losing himself in this world of illusion and unreality.
Absolutely. It's funny because now, I mean, clearly, as you've said, like James Bond is the embodiment of white male privilege,
Mm.
and to some extent what maybe just seemed like uncanny good luck in a lot of those films where he just manages to get out of every disastrous situation imaginable. Now it almost feels like failing upwards, which is an expression you hear a lot, that men, particularly white men in powerful positions, often, even if they don't particularly succeed in those positions, manage to still kind of fail upward in a way.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
some element of that, particularly in the car scene, where there's just this fraternity of incompetence almost. It's like,
Yeah.
but it's funny, as I was also thinking a little bit. I got an email yesterday that I guess Douglas Gordon is going to be showing 24-Hour Psycho again in
Oh, really? Oh,
London
cool.
soon, and I was just thinking, even in terms of like the history of Scottish video art, and the way Hitchcock has certainly played a pretty significant role within that history. But now, there was a period in the 90s in particular where like a huge amount of video work was made, either about Hitchcock or kind of using Hitchcockian tropes. And then I think, things moved on in different directions, either towards more like a net art direction or kind of CGI. And I don't know, for some reason, I feel like the sort of specter of Hitchcock in video disappeared for a while, but now he's back. But in a very different guise. And again, throughout your work, there's always this question of an uncanny sort of framework. But I don't think this is the Hitchcock we knew before. It's something very different in a sense. And I mean, Hitchcock is of course not the same thing as James Bond, but there's still something about, you can't help but think of Vertigo or films like that in this question of doubling.
Yeah, Bond is like a low rent Hitchcock thing. Yeah.
Exactly. And then there's the question of a fake, whether it's a deep fake or just a question of masquerade. Which gets us back to that question of masks and mirrors too. So there's this constant, hall of mirrors in your work. But now that is machine generated in a very different way. And yet you are still a pivotal factor in the machine's ability to read the data that's necessary and map it onto you. And that's what I'm particularly interested in. It's not just the classic AI or machine learning operation of manipulating a data set to create a new kind of image. But that image would not be possible without you, the author, in a sense, because it is literally mapped onto you. And I know that was an extremely laborious process, which, I'd be curious if you could maybe talk a little bit more about. But again, just back to the question of the cyborg and the sort of man-machine hybrid or woman-machine hybrid, and just how you think this film might shift that equation.
Yeah, so the process was like nuts making this film, and it was like I really didn't have a clear sense of whether it was like possible or what was going to pop out the other end when we started it. So I worked in the studio with Tim Dalzell, who works with me, who like trained or basically like learned from scratch how to make a deep fake video on like Discord channels and things. And we started like testing it out and seeing what we could get. And I worked with Edinburgh University and a technologist called Martin Disley who did the audio. And the audio was kind of mad too, where for both the video and the audio, we just had to like watch hundreds of Bond films and like cut out the footage and like collect these data sets and then feed it in. And there was something, I was trying to write the scripts at the same time, and I wanted the scripts to be a response to the technology conceptually, but also like practically speaking, I needed to understand what was possible. And there's so many like nuts limitations, like you can't turn into profile in deepfake, like not even at all. If you turn that far, that's too far. So you've got to write a script that works with that. And the dialogue, I really wasn't sure, like some of the first tests we were getting were proper, like, just no intonation, sort of text to speech dialogue, but we managed to like train it so it had a bit more intonation and a bit more emotion, but still that slightly robotic feel. So the whole process was me slightly feeling my way through like, how believable is this going to be, and how can I play with the things that are unbelievable about it? And I'm quite happy with like the level of fakery in that I think it's creepy, but you can tell it's a deep fake. And the whole aesthetic of the film is intended to be kind of trick you into thinking different things. So you start the film in almost like a 1960s style, like Sean Connery Bond world, and there's this film grain over the top, and all the props and things are like authentic. And then suddenly you drop into a world where the other Bonds turn up and you're like, right, okay, I'm not in the 1960s. And it segues into sort of video game sequence, and the aesthetic is sort of slippery. So you've got that feeling of old cinema film grain, but then also visibly a kind of 3D modeled video game like environment. So I want there to feel like there's always this unsettling quality. And there's a scene in a car which like we shot basically with me just sitting in a chair with like a wheel on the green screen. But that was based on I think one of the worst instances are like if you look at like bad rear projection, it comes up with like the first James Bond film, and Sean Connery is like careering down this road with this like terrible, like badly proportioned rear projection. So I wanted to play with that idea of like the old cinema fakery, the fact it looks so fake to us now. And you're in this film with these Bonds and you're thinking, am I supposed to believe that I'm in this car, or am I supposed to believe that I'm on a rear projection, or am I supposed to believe I'm in a video game? And am I supposed to believe this is Sean Connery, or am I supposed to believe this is a deep fake Sean Connery? So you're kind of constantly playing off of these different assumptions at different points in the film.
Because when I think in Feed Me as well, you use almost, what you might even call sort of iPhone technologies that can allow something to look like surveillance footage, or, there are things you can use now. And I mentioned to you the other day, but there's a great piece we had up recently at MoMA by Petra Courtwright, which also is effectively positioning her as a cam girl. But then she's using, long before Instagram and a lot of the technologies we're used to now, but, sort of early filters and emoji-like kind of graphics to create a screen over herself. But then I remember when MTV launched in the early 1980s, and it literally appropriated this whole history of experimental film tropes and turned it into one big advertisement for the music industry. And now, of course, any iPhone can replicate all of these techniques and aesthetics of celluloid that, are largely obsolete at this point. But, I feel like those aesthetics or sort of technical visuals are as much a character in a lot of your work as the James Bond character or the Marilyn character. It's just, like how the technology itself and the images that those many generations of technology have produced are kind of layered into almost every single film. And it's hard to pry them apart almost, but it's interesting because they are their own character.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm really keen on that. And there's something just very odd about an aesthetic and how we are very visually intelligent, but in a way that's not easy to pick apart, where you can look at footage from 10 years ago and it's 10 years ago, but it would be very hard to put your finger on exactly why that it was made 10 years ago. So I want with all my work to to hit upon something that's kind of precise, so that it's evocative of something, even if you can't quite put your finger on what it is. So yeah, I'm always thinking about filters in that way. And again, you can tell it's filtered, it's not real. This would look very different if it was shot in real film. You can understand what it's getting at, but there's just this it's not quite there in a way that I like. You can tell that it's fake, and you can tell that there's this kind of slipping between this fake film world and this much more digital world. But something actually that's kind of fascinating about doing the deep fake is that when you deep fake a face, you're deep faking somebody's face from a particular era. So it's not like you're deep faking a person. You couldn't take Sean Connery from birth until death, because that would not look like anything. It's got to be Sean Connery from Bond films in the 1960s. And as a consequence, all the faces take on this look, which is actually as much the face, but also the film grain or the quality of the footage through the different eras. So when we got out all the deep fakes, it's almost just looking at the evolution of film through these different technologies and the different kind of effect that has in a very subtle way that you can't put your finger on, but you just know that's from the 1960s, for example.
It's funny because I think, if you think to the early part of the televisual age, when the programming would end at a certain time at night, and then it would go to static. And so if you turned on any television at 2 a.m., pretty much in any country that had, you did not get an image, you got static until something. And now I feel maybe the end point is the green screen. And the green screen is kind of the monochrome that's sitting there waiting for this content. And to, draw you into that content specifically. But maybe we should watch a clip and then we can quickly just talk a little bit more about the process. And then I'm mindful of the time and we should open it up to audience questions. Let's have the clip.
That was so much fun. I know.
Who's your source? What's that? Who's your source? I'm sorry, I'm not following. This photo. Who took it? Oh boy. Nobody took it. What do you mean? Ever heard of Photoshop? No. Pay attention to the road. What's that? What the hell are you doing? Steady on. It's out of control. False reality. Wasn't that what you said? This is not what I meant. Does he think this is real? I do not. Please. Allow me. Much obliged. It's my reality now. And unfortunately, you are just living in it. We're heading off that cliff. Yes, we are. Relax. It's not real. None of this is real.
Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so at one point he says it's my reality. So whose reality is it?
That's the question. Yeah, so it's kind of a recurrent thing in the film where, like, at the start of the film, Sean is confident that it's his reality and he has control of his reality. And then you see at different points in the film, the characters seeming to be able to command and control realities. So you see Marilyn has the ability to almost change the title on the header in a newspaper and things. So I was playing with that idea of almost like who's in control.
And maybe just a final question before we open it up to the audience, but just in terms of production values or just what it takes to get these off the ground. And you already mentioned the sound was a collaboration with University of Edinburgh, but just from even in the arc of films we've just seen during this talk, it feels like they've probably gotten increasingly labor intensive. And I mean, I know I read an interview where you talked about how you had to keep buying computers just to keep the rendering going in order to, and it's just like, it's a little bit, like this whole question of NFTs actually having a horrendous carbon footprint because of just the amount of energy it takes to produce and sustain them. But I'm just curious about, these are not DIY cut up, easy to make films. These are actually extremely labor intensive, and yeah, you're not in Hollywood, you're not working with a major studio, but you do have collaborators, and I'm just curious how, even because certainly when I was living in London, I was always really grateful for the level of funding and infrastructure to support artists who wanted to be more ambitious in making their work, and that doesn't really exist even to the same degree in the US or in most countries. Pretty rare. I'm not sure, again, sort of post-Brexit, if it's as robust as it was, sadly, but you've been very clever about, again, managing to be quite ambitious on a technical level with these films, particularly with Duck. And I'd be curious just to hear a little more about, how you see that trajectory across your career.
Yeah, I mean, I've always I was really lucky with Duck. So I'm a new act, I've got a fellowship at Newcastle University. So I made it through that fellowship. which is amazing. And I got like so much creative freedom with it. I've always made stuff like it's still a small budget, relatively speaking. And I've always made things on like a small budget, but tried to be ambitious. And I've had like a lot of long-term collaborators who are kind of up for it and along for the ride. But yeah, I think maybe partly I can do it because a lot of the stuff I do myself and I understand the technology to a certain extent. So with Feed Me, for example, I did a lot of the visual effects and I did the edit. And I think if you can kind of have it to that in that sense, it is DIY, and I work in a way that's maybe more akin to an artist than a director, where I do, or at least can do, quite a lot of the stuff involved in making the work, as opposed to always just directing people. But yeah, I've also been really lucky to get kind of pots of money that are not huge, but like big enough to make ambitious works, and pots of money that don't have like too many strings attached or too much like oversight. I've been lucky to have quite a lot of creative freedom, and with Duck I totally did, and it would have been very hard to make otherwise, because at every point in the process we really had no idea if this was even going to work. So it's like you're working on something that's like pretty risky, which can, you know, the riskier something gets, the harder it is to get money for it and to get big amounts of money for it, especially in film. So yeah, I've been lucky. I was lucky to be able to make it.
And do you plan to stick with deepfakes or AI technology for your next project?
I've been working with AI a bit more, but more like image-based AI, so like text to image, image to image, which is just mind-blowing. I find just AI technology incredible. And it's come on so much. Like this was finished in 2023, but we started it about 2021, and just since then the progress is incredible and just hard to take in. So yeah, I definitely want to keep working with AI, and it's kind of hard. I have this feeling like we're heading into a period where, will anybody not be working with AI? Like, is there many people now who don't use ChatGPT, and there's a sense in which it's absorbing into our world that it's not a choice, in the way that, like, you know, even artists who don't necessarily make work about the internet use the internet. I feel like it's kind of moving into that stage where everybody's going to be using AI.
In many ways, they already are.
Yeah, yeah, even if they don't know it.
Maybe one final point from me, which I hope will lead into one of the questions I see from a member of our audience. But for those who haven't yet been to Venice, I would encourage you to go see the Pierre Huyghe exhibition.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the new works that he's made, I suspect draws on a painting by Pietro de Lunghi, who was a Venetian painter, but it's almost the opposite of your work, in the sense that instead of a sort of recognizable avatar where you think you at least recognize them, whether again it's James Bond or Alice in Wonderland or whichever sort of referent there may be, in this case it's a black disc. It's literally like a blank. There's no recognizable face. And then to your point about not being able to show a profile, using this technology as easily. So actually, when the character in Pierre's film turns around, you realize what you thought was a flat black mask or disc actually is a black hole. It's a void. And it's this kind of really shocking recognition when she turns around and you realize what you thought was a flat surface is in fact like another dimension. And then next to that, there's another video that was part of a series I know he showed in London at the Serpentine, so some people might have seen it there, but it's the Umwelt series, where he literally did mental mapping, almost like an MRI scan technology, and would ask the subjects to think of an image, and then the data from those scans was used to generate images on screen. So to the extent, in a way, it is a new kind of image based on literally how your brain or how the process of thought functions. And I guess it's interesting to think of that in light of your work, because, I don't know, I just feel like in a way your brain is being scanned in almost every single one of these films, and you see to some extent how your own path through popular culture, through television and cinema has created a lexicon, a visual lexicon. And it's impossible for any of us to kind of function without at this point. And so I think it's interesting that at Rita Witch, something like Duck, draws on this whole history of Hollywood cinema, but then it distills it in a way that would have been unthinkable a few years ago. And creates effectively, it's almost like it's scanning the brain of Hollywood and coming up with these forms. It's a very different operation than Pierre's, and Pierre's is a lot more abstract in a sense, but it's interesting for me to think about your work in relation to his. But getting on to the audience, I think one of the really interesting questions, Nancy M. Miller asks, are you suggesting with your heightened iconography that these symbols reside in our subconscious without our perhaps even recognizing them?
Ah, that is a good question. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think we are very visually intelligent as a culture. So much is fed to us visually. So much of what we take in the world is fed to us via moving image. And I think we have a very sophisticated understanding of imageries and iconography and even editing processes in a way that's like very few people are conscious of. And even as an artist, you have to like, or filmmaker, you have to break that down a little bit to be able to piece it back together again. So I find so much of, I guess, even like the history of editing, the idea that when film started out, editing didn't really exist. And the idea that, you look to a certain side of the screen and the other person looks in the other direction and that looks like they're talking to each other, that had to be invented. But now we just take it as a given, and it wouldn't be something I think the majority of people could dissect. So I think there's a whole level at which we engage with images on a very subconscious level.
And another person asks if you could talk a little bit about the music in your film. Was it written specifically for the work?
Yeah, so with Duck, it was written by Gillian Corey, who I've worked with for a long time, like really almost like 10 years. He's part of the band Franz Ferdinand from Scotland. And yeah, he's great to work with. And I think he's got maybe like a similar sensibility to me where he likes parodying things, or he's like incredibly good at parodying things. So you can give him a kind of genre. He wrote the music for Mimi as well. And he can like hear it and reproduce it and do something interesting and weird with it. So his soundtrack for Duck was like part a parody of the James Bond soundtrack, which to my mind is actually the best thing about James Bond. It's a really great soundtrack. And then part like mashing that into more like video game soundtrack, and we reference the N64 game from the 90s. And again, like the music in that is also brilliant. So yeah, he's worked with me a lot.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you about gaming and video games too, but I mean, quickly in terms of the sound of Duck though, it's also interesting. It's not just straightforward music or even straightforward found sound, but it almost sounds like there's this sort of like electronic subtext that sounds like you're passing through the wires of the data along with the characters somehow. It feels like you're in the network. And that's a very palpable thing that the sound achieves, I think.
Yeah, I worked again for a long time with William Aikman, who's the sound designer, and we worked on Duck together. And yeah, we worked a lot on like, on the one hand, giving it a kind of like action movie sort of feel at the same time as having this energy that felt like a little bit unsettling and droning and dark. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit foreboding for sure. But in terms of gaming too, if you could maybe talk a little bit about that, because it's more apparent in some of the films than in others, but clearly I would imagine you're drawing on some video gaming technologies, but even just the ethos of gaming.
Yeah, I mean, definitely with, so I like grew up playing a lot of games, and then I had like a break, and then I went back to it and realized like I'm rubbish at playing games, like they're far too hard for me. So I think I peaked at like Mario and that was it. But I'm terribly sorry. I was thinking about like if you play a lot of games, even the more like benign games, you still expect to shoot something. Like you get into the game and you think, right, what am I supposed to shoot? Or what am I supposed to kill? And I think that the minute you're given something, even in the VR, like a handset or, and a button, you think, right, who is it I'm supposed to shoot? And the work kind of plays on that. So it's a spoiler maybe to talk too much more about it. But yeah, so I think a lot about the kind of logic of video games and playing between the sort of language of cinema and then also the video game language.
And how do you think that exists? I'm thinking of an artist like Shuli Chang, who's happily getting a lot of attention again at the moment. And, she was, I think, one of the first artists to really apply gaming mentalities and technologies, to gender critique, to kind of queer thought, to a range of things that were often maybe considered divorced from gaming, which was seen as a very masculinist space. And I'm wondering, yeah, I mean, to what extent can gaming be a form of critique as well as the problem it is critiquing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not like as engaged with video games as I'd like to be, partly because I have a baby and they require like huge amounts of time investment. But yeah, in Doc, there's a moment where you see Sean Connery shooting these kind of like multiple replicas of Marilyn that just seem to come from everywhere. And it's a little bit zombie movie, but it's also shot like a first person shooter based on the kind of N64 game GoldenEye. And then there's a part kind of towards the end of the film where he shoots all these Marilyns and it feels like a kind of video game action sequence. And then there's a part at the end where he like reflects on what he's done and goes back and almost has this kind of emotional realization of the carnage that has ensued in his wake. So I sort of wanted to play on that idea of video games where, and again with I'm Terribly Sorry, where you do this thing and then suddenly you feel like complicit in some way or responsible in some way, which is not, I think, an experience I've had in a video game, but I'm sure there are video games now that play on all sorts of stuff that is like very much not like the 90s N64 experience.
And maybe just a quick question too, just how has motherhood changed your work, do you think, or how you think about it?
It's changed it, I mean, from the point of view of, because I was making like just before giving birth to my first daughter in 2019, a lot of work about cuteness, and I did a whole show on cuteness, and I was like looking at it through like quite an academic perspective and like cuteness studies and the work of Joshua Paul Dale and things. And then you have a baby and suddenly it's like this very visceral, very real, very immediate feeling of cuteness where you're like, oh God, yeah, this is really what it feels like to experience cuteness, both the kind of wonder and the loveliness of it, but the kind of horror of it. And to me, the slippage between those two things with cuteness is what interested me. So this sort of the benign and the vulnerable at the same time as the kind of potentially sort of sinister quality that cuteness can have too. So obviously it's changed me in all sorts of other like lovely ways in my personal life, but like from an artistic point of view, that's and I'm currently making a body of work which is more like specifically about motherhood.
Oh, I can't wait to see that. Another member of our audience asks, did you have a moment or moments in your career when someone doubted your vision? And in what ways were you or are you able to overcome externally imposed self-doubt?
Oh God, that's a good question. I don't know if I am. I've started to realize that like people who doubt what you do, you should probably listen to them. But it's hard to like, I think the difficult thing about being an artist is on the one hand, you need to have like a healthy level of self-doubt, but you also need to believe in yourself and see stuff through, because often you're seeing stuff through in the face of like low budgets and very little time and all these kind of obstacles. So I think it helps to have people around you who you can trust and they'll tell you honestly what they think about what you do, and you listen to them and you absorb it and you don't just kind of plow ahead without doubting yourself. But yeah, I don't know, I think you can have an instinctive feeling like the guy who told me not to paint in pink, when somebody says something to you and you think, no, I definitely know I want to do that and you can't tell me otherwise. And there's moments of like total clarity and you just need to follow through and not doubt yourself. But I think if somebody doubts you and it creates a doubt for you, maybe they're right and maybe that's something you actually do need to like absorb to a certain extent.
And then one final question. Do you have any plans to release your work to the wider public outside of on-site installations or film festivals, whether for free or by purchase and rental? I've been a huge fan ever since catching LOL Cats at a Chicago screening many years ago. It hasn't much online. Aside from brief excerpts, would love to see both more of your works in their entirety and share them with friends.
Yeah, I would like to do that. I mean, I've got some film festivals that Duck is going to be showing in soon. Also privately, if anybody gets in touch and wants to watch something, I always send a link. But yeah, I've got a show coming up in Germany, which may not be particularly local, but at Kunsthalle Gießen, where I'm showing my new work about motherhood and Duck and Mimi. I'm got a few other festivals in Europe and I'm looking for like some festivals in the US, but yeah, I can't say like immediately that there's going to be like a big showcase, but
Would you ever consider, I remember, Miriam Benani, who's an artist based here in New York, but during the pandemic, she did this amazing series called Two Lizards that, she really made the most of
right,
the downtime of the pandemic to
yeah.
iterative thing. And, or, even somebody as accomplished as Steve Maclean obviously did small acts as kind of broadcast television rather than video installation or cinema in a conventional way. So, but would you ever consider those kinds of outlets for your work?
Yeah, I mean, I made a film, Make Me Up, which was shown on BBC, and it was on BBC iPlayer. It probably still is, actually. I'm not entirely sure. And I have so Doc's being broadcast, distributed by RT TV in France and Germany as well. So I'm not sure exactly when, but yeah, I love that. I think I really like the opportunity to be able to show my work to a wider audience, but these things can be tricky. I think you're always, from a practical point of view, playing between the fact that you don't get into film festivals if you show your work too widely. There's this like very kind of exclusive sort of premiere status idea, but then on the other hand, you want people to see your work. So it's like a bit of a balance that can be quite hard to strike.
And do you have any plans to do more elaborate installations like Mimi in public space or outside of the confines of a typical museum?
Not immediately. I'm working on a feature film, which is not quite that, but it's called Melted, and it's a dark Christmas movie set in Scotland. So that's hopefully like the next thing that I'm going to be getting into production. And I'm working on a new body of digital paintings, which will be installed in Kunsthalle Gießen in Germany with like large printed curtains, so very Baroque and immersive. But yeah, I love doing Mimi, and I loved showing work in like public space. So yeah, I hope so.
Okay, well, thank you for being so generous with all of us, and we
Yeah.
look forward to seeing all the new work and hopefully to carry on this conversation another time soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you very much.